I think we can get started. Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Sylvia. If you guys heard about Mira or Mira webinar before, you know what I do. So I'm the CEO and the co-founder for Mira Fertility. I will do a little bit introduction about the Mira a little bit later into the webinar. But today is another webinar from Mira. So we have been doing the free webinar for about, I think, more than 4 months already, 3 to 4 months. So every month we pick some of the best fertility or OBGYN doctors or nutritionists or consultants or personal coaches from this country. And we talk about a specific topic. So today we're really excited to share with you something about the PCOS, because you may or may not know this month is a PCOS awareness month. And PCOS has been a topic that has been really, not really being talked enough in our society. So if you ever, had a PCOS, you're not alone. Actually, 10% of the women in, globally have PCOS, and many of us are not aware. So we definitely need to do more within this area, and that's our goal for this webinar, and for also Mira as a company to help you to become more aware of what's going on with your body. So today I'm really excited to have Robyn. So Robyn is the founder and owner of Hormone Diva, and also she is the very good holistic nutritionist and personal coach, specifically focused on PCOS, and also Despina as a founder of PCOS Oracle. So she also has a story about the PCOS, and she focuses a lot on the exercise, lifestyle, and how those will be affecting PCOS as well. So maybe before overdue, I'm just gonna, maybe Robyn, you can introduce yourself a little bit, and Despina, you can do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me again, Sylvia. This is always nice and fun. And welcome, everyone. I'm Robyn, the Hormone Diva, as she said, holistic nutritionist for women with PCOS as well as endometriosis. I have PCOS myself, and so it was kind of my journey through reversing the symptoms that I was experiencing that brought me to the passion of doing this. So I'm really excited to share some good stuff today.
That's great. Thanks, Robyn.
So my name is Despina Pavlou, and I'm so excited to have this opportunity to be on the webinar and speak with all of you, and just help you kind of just raise awareness about PCOS and kind of get the information that I wish I had when I was diagnosed a few years ago. And yeah, I focus a lot on the exercise aspect, which I think is important, because there's a lot of talk now on nutrition and diet, but I think there has to be that bit of awareness and kind of education on the exercise aspects. I think there's so much information about the trends, everything that everyone's doing, and I think we have to be aware of that. We have to listen to our body and understand how hormones can be affected by exercise, especially if you're a woman and you're suffering from hormonal imbalances. So yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much for your introduction. So just some housekeeping things before we go forward. So we will be discussing and we'll be talking about some really nice tips for PCOS for almost like the first half an hour of this webinar, and you guys can ask a question, whatever question you have, just feel free to ask into the Q&A section in Zoom. So please make sure you enter into the Q&A, not into the chat, because we're going to be looking at the Q&A first. And if you like someone else question, and you can upvote those questions, so we will be answering the most popular questions first if there's going to be a time constraint. So before we start, I like to do a really quick poll. I'd like to know better about our audience today. I'm gonna launch this poll on your screen, and this is about what is your fertility goal. So then we can tailor our topic more towards what you're interested in. So if you can simply just, it's a one question pose. If you can just enter your question, enter your answer, that'd be great. Okay, great. So I'm gonna give 5 more seconds if you haven't voted. Okay, sounds good. So let me share the results with you guys. So as you can see, most of our audience today are trying to conceive. And the second biggest interest is a balance in the hormone, and then people want to know more about the body and cycle. Great, thanks so much for the input. Okay, so then I'm gonna do a little bit introduction for Mira. So we might have some Mira user or non-Mira user, but basically Mira is the really small home testing device. So we test your urine sample. So you put this test wand into your urine sample, and then the hormone. So the insert this test wand into the analyzer, which is like a palm-sized thing, and this will read your hormone levels into a number. So this number will be transferred to the Mira app, and on there you can see when you're fertile, when you're not fertile, and you can see your entire fertile window. You can see how fertile you are. You can see your hormone pattern. So the biggest difference of Mira versus other products on the market is that we track the numeric hormone concentration. So the only other place you can really get to this level of accuracy is in the lab, like doing a blood drawing. But we know we cannot afford to go to blood drawing every day. So Mira gives you a really convenient way, but very accurate way as well for you to know what's going on. So why do we want to know the numeric hormone number? That's because our hormone concentration fluctuates so much. So even with a healthy woman, like and you believe you have regular cycle, but you can have really high hormone curve cycles, you can have really low hormone threshold. So every cycle can be different for healthy women, and across different women, that difference will even be huge. So if you track something with the just like a qualitative yes or no, or 1 line versus 2 line, you're likely to get false positive, false negative. And another reason is that if you can see your hormone curve, like the shape of the curve for long term, you can compare that versus last cycle versus like a previous cycle, and then you have a much better sense, understanding about what's going on with your body. So you know when exactly you ovulate, you know when the hormone goes up, so that will help you to be trying to conceive. Because we know a lot of times trying to conceive is like pretty hard. We don't know what's a problem, but it just, we just not successful. So this will help you to erase a lot of guesswork and worry into your cycle tracking and trying to conceive journey. And also because we have this numerical hormone number, our AI is able to learn based on your personalized hormone situation. So all the prediction analysis the app is doing will be really personalized to you. So that is very helpful, because as we said before, everyone's different. At the same time, we're so excited to launch estrogen tracking this month. Our product's shipping in a week or so. So if you already place order on the website, and you should get your product soon. So we all know that with estrogen, you can see your entire fertile window, also entire non-fertile window. And also estrogen is very important to track, for people with PCOS as well. It's one of the major, probably the most important female hormone. So, and another exciting news to announce before we go into the webinar is that Mira is sponsoring the PCOS Awareness Symposium in this year. So as we said, September is the PCOS Awareness Month. So you can win your free ticket because we're doing the sponsor. So simply go into our Instagram account, which is Mira Fertility. You simply go to here, and you can see there's a post about this event, which is this Saturday. So just do something, follow the instruction over there. You can have a free access to like 1 day, entire day of talks, webinar, and the material about PCOS awareness. So just a little bit disclaimer, and then we're gonna get into the webinar. So all the things we're doing here is to help us to get more educational and informational content for your goal, and to help you to understand your body better. But all the things we're doing is not gonna replace any medical advice you may receive from your physician. So great. So then we're gonna start with Robyn. We know Robyn has extensive experience on the PCOS, personal coach, treatment, and also foods. For example, foods like supplements and how the lifestyle or what kind of self-care we should do if you already have PCOS. So Robyn, maybe you can share some interesting background story with you and also give our audience some advice about what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited to share. So I don't actually have slides for this for everyone who's listening. You'll just have to listen to me speak. But we're going to talk about PCOS fertility nourishment. So essentially what I'm going to be sharing with you are foods, supplements, and self-care practices that can help boost your fertility with PCOS, whether or not you're doing fertility treatment. So you can support yourself inside and outside of those treatments. And, there's nothing wrong with doing fertility treatments whatsoever, but you can still support your body to hopefully make those more successful when you do them or if you do them. And everything that I'm about to share are all things that I've used in my own journey in order to get my cycles back, in order to ovulate, in order to reduce or reverse certain symptoms like the hair stuff and the skin stuff that's part of PCOS. And all of that eventually led me to being able to fall pregnant naturally back in 2018. So my son is almost 15 months now. And so this stuff really works. I see it work all the time with my clients, and I want to share it with you so that you can have these powerful tools for yourself as well. So first of all, there's a lot of information out there about PCOS and what the best diet is and what we should be eating and what we shouldn't be eating and all the things that we can't do and all of that kind of stuff. And so for me, when I'm sharing information about food, my food philosophy is always no food is ever off limits, because we have enough guilt and shame over the things that we eat as it is. So what we're going to focus on here when I talk about foods are foods to include and foods to reduce. So I'm not saying you need to eliminate certain foods all the time. There's no counting like carbs and calories and stuff involved in this. It's really focusing on giving your body the most nutritious food that you possibly can as often as you can. Okay, so certain foods to include to help PCOS in general, but specifically fertility, would be things like cruciferous vegetables, so broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, all of that kind of stuff, because it contains something called DIM, which you can also get in supplement form, which is really helpful for balancing out estrogen levels in women with PCOS. Also super high in fiber, these vegetables, so going to keep our blood sugar nice and stable. Really, really important for PCOS as well. So getting as many of those into your diet as you can. Another sort of grouping of foods that I want to mention that's really good to focus on are anti-inflammatory seeds. So flax seeds, hemp seeds, and chia seeds all contain high levels of omega-3 fats. So they're highly anti-inflammatory. Omega-3s are also really important for balancing out our hormone levels, really good for mood as well, for fertility and so on. So flax, hemp, and chia are fantastic. And these are great ones for those of you, whether you are omnivore or plant-based. You'll also get lots of fiber in these seeds as well. And you'll notice that pretty much everything I'm going to share is very high in fiber, because it's incredibly important for our hormone production, to make sure we're getting rid of excess estrogen, to keeping our blood sugar stable. Focusing on fiber rather than carbs or the number of carbs or hating carbs and that kind of thing will get you much farther in your journey. Other sources, leafy green vegetables, so things like spinach and kale and collard greens. And some of you in this audience, I know that thyroid issues are big alongside PCOS. And so there's some information out there that says, whoa, like I shouldn't be having these leafy greens or even these cruciferous vegetables if I've got thyroid issues going on. So I just want to mention that you can still enjoy these foods and get all of their benefits. You might just want to cook them more often. I have thyroid issues along with PCOS myself, so I'm no stranger to trying to navigate both of those conditions at the same time. Other foods that are important to focus on are berries. Again, really high in fiber, super anti-inflammatory, which is really important for fertility and egg health. Women with PCOS tend to have like a low-grade chronic inflammation going on that's not often tested by doctors, but it's usually present. And so using things like berries can be very helpful here, as well as avocados and sweet potatoes, which are two of my absolute favorite fertility promoting foods in PCOS because of their fiber content, their mineral content. Avocados, especially, very high in good and healthy fats, which are important for our egg health, for the regularity of our cycles. Most of our, or all of our steroid hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, they're all made from fat as one of the base ingredients. So it really is important that we get enough healthy fats. All right, so foods to reduce. So focus most of your efforts on including all of that good stuff. And then if you're thinking about things that you're gonna maybe eat less of in your diet, let's say, those might be the more inflammatory foods, the foods that might make you, might mess with your insulin sensitivity and your blood sugar a little bit more, things like dairy, wheat or gluten products, refined sugar, and processed refined oils or trans fats. So thinking about reducing those as much as possible, and then including all of the foods that I was talking about as often as you possibly can. And you will start to see a huge shift in your hormonal patterns, in your cycles. I noticed that there was a question there, I won't answer it now, but in the Q&A about like how to tell what your symptoms are, whether they're progesterone, estrogen. So these kind of foods will really help to bring all of that kind of stuff into balance. So that's the food part of things. Keep it really simple, focus on highly nutritious foods, anti-inflammatory, good fats, lots of fiber, and you'll make really good headway. And then we'll talk briefly about supplements. But before I dive into that, I do want to mention, like as a little disclaimer, that the supplements that I'm going to mention may not be right for you. I'm not going to speak about dosages for the supplements because that can vary from person to person. So certainly if you're interested in using one of the supplements that I mentioned, then hit up your healthcare practitioner, your naturopath, your nutritionist. If you don't have one, feel free to hit me up. My email there is in the chat there. You guys can email me anytime. I'm happy to answer your questions, but I'm not going to go over dosages and things like that with the supplements, okay? Because that should be really tailored. So one of the first supplements that I'm going to talk about is something called Ovasitol, O-V-A-S-I-T-O-L. It's a supplement by a company called Theralogics, and basically it's an inositol supplement. Inositol is a member of the B vitamin family, which has been studied quite extensively in women with PCOS specifically. And I love the Ovasitol product itself because it combines both forms of inositol that have been studied in the right ratio that your body requires. So it makes it really easy and very effective. The reason why inositols, or this product in particular, can be super helpful is because it helps to reduce insulin resistance, normalize hormone levels, promotes more regular menstrual cycles, normal blood lipid levels. So if you're struggling with cholesterol, triglycerides, non-alcoholic fatty liver, all that kind of stuff, it might be helpful there, and promoting egg quality as well. So Ovasitol is definitely my top supplement for women, especially if you're trying to conceive with PCOS or you struggle with irregular cycles, issues with your egg quality, lack of ovulation, all of that kind of stuff. The second supplement that I want to mention here tonight is something called NAC, or N-acetylcysteine. This is another supplement that's had numerous studies in women with PCOS. It's good for a lot of different things actually, but specifically for our purposes, it helps to improve insulin resistance, which is basically the foundation of what causes a lot of symptoms and other hormonal imbalances in PCOS. It helps to lower androgen levels. So if you've been told you have high testosterone, high DHT, high DHEA, NAC might be helpful here in lowering those androgens so your cycles regulate and you ovulate and all that good stuff. And it also can improve fertility. There was one study that showed using NAC or N-acetylcysteine made the participants 3.5 times as likely to get pregnant, as well as more likely to have live births and less preterm labor with the use of NAC. So a really fantastic supplement. Also, as a bonus, if you struggle with any upper respiratory stuff, allergies, bronchitis, asthma, it can sometimes be helpful there too. Third supplement I want to talk about is called folate. So if you're trying to get pregnant, your doctor may have said, make sure you're taking a folic acid supplement, or you might have read about folic acid and how important this is in the preconception and also, you know, prenatal during pregnancy period of time. However, folic acid is a synthetic form of folate. So what you're really looking for on any product that contains it is folate, not folic acid. It's much easier for the body to utilize. And specifically, there's one form, which I'm just going to write down in the chat, 5-MTHF folate. So ideally, right, best quality supplement is going to have this form. Oh, I put that to panelists. Sorry. Not to everybody who's here. There we go. So this is a really, really important thing to know. Like folic acid is not necessarily going to be a good fit. A lot of us with PCOS tend to have gene mutations which prevent us from using it properly. So getting the 5-MTHF folate in your prenatal or as a separate supplement can be very helpful. Two more that I want to go over super briefly. One of them is zinc. This is a mineral that has a role in ovulation and progesterone production. When you are pregnant, it's important for early cell division, normal fetal development, that kind of thing. So zinc is a really good one, especially if you struggle to ovulate, if you know you have low progesterone, if you struggled with miscarriage related to low progesterone in the past, zinc can be helpful here. And then the last one is vitamin D. This is a pretty basic one that you might have read about for PCOS. Many of us with PCOS are deficient in vitamin D. Even if you're outside in the sun all the time, doesn't necessarily mean your levels are adequate. So definitely test, go to your doctor or do an at-home test kit for vitamin D to see if you need any and how much to take. Vitamin D is needed for hormone production, egg quality, helping with insulin resistance, menstrual regularity, and also has been shown to improve pregnancy rates as well. So I'll just recap the names of those supplements. Ovositol by Theralogics, NAC or N-acetylcysteine, 5-MTHF folate, zinc, and vitamin D. Those are some of my top, most favorite supplements for women trying to conceive with PCOS. Now, we talked food, we talked supplements. The last thing that I want to mention here is self-care practices. And I'm not mentioning this last because it should be last on your priority list. In fact, it probably needs to be first. It's just as important as everything else. Definitely, stress can impact our hormones and our cycles and our fertility in a big, big way. So implementing some of these self-care practices, you know, as often as possible, like daily, will make a huge difference in your outcomes, but also how you feel mentally and emotionally through this journey, which can be very discouraging and frustrating and, you know, draining, exhausting, right? So things like meditation can be very helpful, you know, even 15 minutes a day. There's lots of free apps out there. There's even fertility-based ones. There's a company called Circle and Bloom that has a PCOS fertility meditation program. Yoga can be very helpful here, which is also physical benefit to our hormones and fertility, as well as the mental and emotional benefits. Movement and exercise, which I won't get into because I think Despina is going to talk a lot about that. Adequate rest and good quality sleep. So 7 to 9 hours a night. Less than that or more than that has shown to disrupt certain rhythms in the body. Having a regular sleep, good quality sleep, is so critical for our daily rhythms. So we have energy and stuff, right, to get through our day, but also with our menstrual cycle rhythms, which of course is important for our fertility. One thing I can't not mention is to keep sex fun and have it often. I know when you're trying to conceive, like if you're looking at your fertile window, whether you're using Mira or other, you know, tracking devices and test strips and all this kind of stuff, it can become very like mechanical and put a strain on your relationship. So have it often, keep sex fun, you know, keep things light, keep things happy with you and your partner. The only time where you might not want to have it so often, and your doctor will tell you more about this, is if there's like low sperm count for your partner, in which case they might recommend doing it less often. So when you do, you gotta more bang for your buck, if that makes sense. And then the last self-care practice that I want to mention here is something called castor oil packs. So this is probably new to most of you here, but I highly, highly, highly recommend castor oil packs because basically what you're doing is applying castor oil to certain parts of your body. So in this case, it would be your abdomen. And if anyone wants to know more about using castor oil packs, I have a free PCOS fertility guide. So you guys can hit me up by the email that's in the chat. Just email me and be like, hey, I want the free guide, and I'll send it to you so you can get all the information on how to use these packs and what they're all about. But basically, they're super helpful with blood flow, helping with any stagnation or congestion that might be in the pelvic area, helpful for dealing with cysts or if there's fibroids present, all of that kind of stuff, and will also help you to move your bowels regularly, which is important for a hormone balance, and support your liver health as well. So those are the main things that we need to be focusing on. The foods include as many of those amazing foods as that we talked about. Supplements, get someone to help you figure out which supplements are best for you and how to use them so you're not, throwing money down the drain. And then lastly, the self-care practices that we talked about. So meditation, yoga, movement, exercise, good quality sleep, having sex often and keeping it fun, castor oil packs, all of these things kind of make a really well-rounded way to support yourself during your fertility journey, whether you are using fertility treatments or not.
Great. I think that's really insightful. I learned a lot from you, Robyn. So I hope our audience did that too. And I saw there's some questions on the screen, but maybe we will talk about the, I know Despina has a lot of great insights to share about exercise for PCOS. And after that, we're going to take these questions. So Despina, do you want to share your screen?
Yep. Can everyone see the screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
So I get a lot of questions about the best exercise for PCOS, what should I be doing? And that's basically where I try and come in and provide some insight and kind of educate women on, what may be the best type of exercise for them. Because as we'll be going through the PowerPoint, first let's kind of go through the exercise myths. Number one, there's no one best exercise for PCOS. We often think that, just like with diets, we often think that there's one best diet, so there must be one best exercise. But there isn't one best exercise. Women with PCOS, another myth is that women with PCOS shouldn't lift the weights because it will further increase testosterone levels. And as we'll be going through the slides, you will find out that that's a myth, and that's not necessarily the case. It's the opposite, a myth of eat less and work out more, no pain, no gain, all this, motivational words kind of go against what we want to be doing when we have hormonal imbalances. And a lot of the research around, trending exercises are often optimal. I've been researched and tested on men who, have no kind of cycles, the hormones are pretty consistent. So we need to be aware that the whole, just keep going, work so hard, train hard, is not really beneficial for us, and we have to take care of our hormones. And the last one I want to mention is that the need to train fasted to burn fat is a myth, and women need to be aware that they need to be nourishing their bodies, and fasting isn't always beneficial. So how should I exercise for PCOS? So the number one thing I always say is that you need to honor your hormone imbalance and exercise based on your type of PCOS. So as you may know, there are multiple types of PCOS. It's not just one that, it's not one condition. So often when we're diagnosed, we think PCOS is just one condition and everyone has the same symptoms, everyone has the same type, and everyone just does the same thing and just like copy and paste what everyone else is doing. That's just not the case. We're all unique, we're all individuals, and our hormones imbalances are different. So we have to honor that and find an exercise you enjoy, listen to your body. So honor your hormone imbalance. So as you may know, there are different types of PCOS. The most common one, around 70% of women with PCOS suffer from insulin resistance. And you may have the two most popular exercises that research have found to benefit this type of PCOS, this condition, is resistance training and high intensity interval training, so HIIT. Now, as you may know, resistance training is any exercise that causes the muscle to contract, in turn resulting in increased muscle mass, endurance, and just lean muscle gains, basically. So, which is what we basically want. Now, there are different types of resistance training. It's not just, as you go to the gym and you see people lifting barbells and dumbbells and, going to the machines and doing all that kind of stuff. It's any kind of exercise. So it can be resistant bands, it can be TRX suspension equipment, body weight. So if you don't even have a membership to a gym, you can simply just do body weight exercises in your garden. Obviously, with this whole lockdown coronavirus, we were all pretty much had to improvise and think of exciting exercises to do in our bedrooms or in a garden if we were lucky enough to have a garden. And, all this kind of stuff has been shown to help insulin resistance and in turn PCOS symptoms. So results from the study found each 10% increase in muscle was associated with 11% relative reduction in insulin resistance. So research suggests that having more muscle can effectively increase glucose storage, facilitate glucose clearance from circulation, and reduce the amount of insulin needed to maintain normal glucose tolerance. And the second exercise that I'm sure everyone knows is HIIT train HIIT. And now, I think this form of exercise is always spoken about in the PCOS community, and I think it's really great, and research has shown huge benefits for me with PCOS, but it has its downsides, which I'll mention in a bit. But I just want to mention that research has shown huge benefits for women that have PCOS and insulin resistance. They found women who done HIIT for 12 weeks, 3 times a week, had a reduction in their waist and hip circumference, which is often associated is a sign of insulin resistance if you have around the abdomen a bit of wider hips and stuff like that. So those are the 2 most popular types of exercise for insulin resistance. But if you are aware, you can have more than one type of PCOS. So you have to be aware of, again, honoring your hormone imbalance and knowing, if you're suffering from fatigue, for example, which is another common symptom of PCOS, which is often associated when you have high cortisol, which is associated with adrenal PCOS. It's often suggested if you're suffering from fatigue, I'd suggest opting for low intensity workouts like walking, again, resistance training, and just stretching, and but potentially just avoiding HIIT until you address that hormonal imbalance. Because at the end of the day, if you're pushing your body to do intense workouts and you're not recovering, you're feeling fatigued after you exercise, then you're just kind of setting yourself back again. You're not helping your body to balance your hormones. So don't kind of feel like, oh, everyone's doing HIIT training, so I need to do it, and say, oh, it burns fat, so I need to just push myself and do it every day. And it's just going to set you back. Don't feel bad if you're not doing it. Eventually, when you do balance your hormones, you can go back to trying to do HIIT and potentially seeing those benefits. But don't feel bad if you can't do it at the moment. So because obviously there's been research that shows exercising intensities between 80% and 90% of VO2 max can significantly increase cortisol. That's why it's often suggested if you're suffering from high cortisol, you've got cortisol issues, then just go for the low intensity exercises around 40% VO2 max, which has been shown to significantly has been shown to reduce circulating cortisol levels, which is basically what we want. As Robyn was speaking about, stress is a huge issue when it comes to driving hormonal issues and PCOS. And another thing I really want to point out is that when we're looking to regain our menstrual cycle or balance our hormones and improve our chances to conceive, if we're constantly over-exercising and pushing our bodies to train, our body is going to shut down our reproductive functions, because essentially it's not that important than saving energy and helping us to survive. So stuff like our menstrual cycle will get shut down. You're not going to have a menstrual cycle, which is I've been through. I didn't have a menstrual cycle for over 6 years, and you know, you have to listen to your body and stop pushing yourself and putting all the stress on your body to keep doing foreign cardio, over exercising, going every single day, training 2 times a day. It's just, you know, not going to help you. So, you know, really honor your hormone imbalance. Don't feel bad if you can't do certain things that your friends are doing. We're all different. We're all in this situation where you have to kind of just listen to yourself, listen to your body. Don't basically just listen to your body. That's the most important thing I want to stress. And the other thing I want to emphasize is syncing your workouts with your cycle. So as we know, there's the follicular phase, ovulatory phase, the luteal phase, and obviously the menstrual phase before that. So when it comes to the follicular phase, this is obviously if you know where you are in your cycle, if you've got a regular cycle, if you're aware of where you are during your cycle, it's important to be able to sync with your workouts with your cycle. So when you're in the first half of your cycle, you're burning fat easily, you're putting on lean muscle a lot easier as well. Your blood sugar levels are stable, you have more energy, and this is why around this phase, it's okay to go for those intense workouts like HIIT, spin classes, and any kind of intense workouts you enjoy. And then during your ovulatory phase, estrogen levels peak, and again here you can opt for those intense workouts to make use of all that energy. And then when you get to the second half of the cycle, the luteal phase, this is when you have to start honoring your cycle, listen to your body as your metabolism while your metabolism does boost, your blood sugar levels and estrogen levels dip and you have less energy. So it's recommended to opt for resistance training, stretching, walking, and just generally just resting rather than pushing your body to go for those intense workouts, because it can end up while there's an increase in metabolism, it can end up causing some fat storage instead when you're putting your body through those intense workouts because you're increasing cortisol. So I would highly recommend trying to sync your workouts with your cycle to make use of the benefits during each phase, and just enjoy your workouts as well. Exercise optimally and just have fun and put on that lean muscle, which will help with insulin resistance and just general well-being. And so some final tips and recommendations is, most importantly, experiment, do some trial and error, try all these different resistance training approaches, from the resistant bands, barbells, body weight, try things out, experiment. It might take some time for you to figure out what you enjoy, but don't feel like you have to copy someone else or do the next trending workout program, because when it comes to exercise, you have to find something you enjoy and you see yourself doing regularly, because at the end of the day, consistency and doing something regularly is going to lead to results. It's never doing the best workout and then you can't do it for regularly, and then results don't come from that. It comes from consistency. So finding something you enjoy will help you lead to hormonal balance and just overall improvement in your symptoms. A common kind of question is, should you do a fasted workout or obviously eating before workout? And I highly recommend that you eat 1 to 2 hours before you exercise, because when it just gives you that extra energy, but also it helps prevent your body getting that increase in cortisol, which we want to be managing, rather than preventing that cortisol spike. And eating at least 1 hour after training. So making sure you're combining your carbs and your protein to balance blood sugar levels, which is important for, as Robyn has mentioned, that blood sugar balance is key. So make sure you're fueling yourself with enough food. Aim to exercise at least 3 to 4 times a week. I often give that recommendation because I feel like, especially if you're just starting out, thinking that you need to exercise every single day kind of is a bit overwhelming. So I feel like at least 3 times is awesome. It's something. And then I also do recommend walking regularly. If it's, at least if you're not going to the gym or doing some kind of workout, at least walking every single day for at least 20 minutes to an hour if you can would be beneficial. And when it comes to weightlifting, it's often recommended to go for that 5x5 compound lifts, which is your squat, bench press, deadlift, and all that kind of stuff. But obviously I don't want to go into specific stuff when it comes to sets and reps, because I feel like that's a personalized thing. And it's often better when you tailor exercise program based on the individual. But that's 5x5 is a great starting point if you're just kind of starting out. Training 30 minutes to prevent excess cortisol production. You don't have to go for the whole hour or 90 minutes. Just be aware that we're trying to manage the cortisol here. We don't want to put our body into so much stress, because at the end of the day, exercise is a stressor. While it can be a good stressor, when you push your body too much and you don't give yourself rest, and you're over exercising, it can cause it's a stressor. And not giving your body that rest and recovery can cause chronic inflammation as well, because when we exercise, the stress can cause acute inflammation, and acute inflammation can go if you give your body that time to rest and recover. We take that stressor off, but when we're constantly putting stress on our body, that acute inflammation can become chronic. And as Robyn said, women with PCOS already have chronic inflammation. So we want to be doing as much as we can to reduce the inflammation, to reduce the stress, to help with hormone balance and reverse those PCOS symptoms. The final 2 things is just to include functional mobility movements to also support posture, which is important for just alignment purposes, for breathing, digestion, just overall health. And instead of focusing so much on the weightlifting and the hardcore exercises, I feel like that can often lead to muscle imbalances and put a lot of pressure on the body. So including these functional movements can support posture. And trying to avoid exercising in the evening, because as we know, cortisol spikes in the morning to give us the energy, and then it starts to dip in the evening so we can fall asleep. So if we're exercising in the evening, we're kind of putting that circadian rhythm out of whack. Our cortisol ends up spiking and we're not going to fall asleep, and we wonder why we can't sleep. It's because you're exercising too late. And I understand that obviously based on our schedules, our routines, sometimes it can be hard to not work out after work. So if you're able, try and exercise in the morning or at lunch, or try and just mix up a bit, just because this can impact cortisol. And again, like we keep saying, you have to manage it. And those are like my main kind of tips and recommendations. And this is the final thing I just want to say: doing less is sometimes best. And yeah, that's my final take-home message.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Despina. If you can stop your screen share. Yeah. Okay, great. So thanks so much, Despina. So I think this is really, important information and really valuable information for us to know exactly what we need to do, because I know many people have questions about exercise for so long. So I have seen, during the talk, I've seen many questions, which are great. It looks like you guys are interested in this topic, and we will have a great discussion. So I like to first address some questions for Mira, because I saw some questions being upvoted to the top. So this is your hormone profile, right? So the first thing is that I'd like to talk about why Mira works for PCOS. So the 2 most important hormones here, one is the LH hormone, luteinizing hormone. So that will surge right before ovulation, usually like 12 to 24 hours before ovulation. And while it's not surging, while it's at the baseline, the level should be quite low. And another important hormone is the estrogen hormone. So estrogen will go up. So there's a dot line here. So the estrogen will go up few days before the ovulation happens, and that usually overlays with your full fertile window, because the egg can, although the egg can only survive up to 24 hours after its release, but the sperm can live inside the woman's body up to like 5 to 6 days if the sperm quality is good. So the sperm can go there and wait for the egg to be released and then meet with the egg. So then if we, that means if we, a few days before the ovulation happens, that's also considered as our fertile window. So when we have PCOS, so there could be, because there are many kinds of PCOS, so something could be ongoing, something could be, not working correctly. So that usually happens like you have elevated LH level. So what does that mean? That means luteinizing hormone level, even they're at their baseline, they're much higher than this. So that means you're probably going to see a flat line, or you're going to see a higher, higher baseline, and then you have using like really small peaks, not this like very obvious one single peak, because that will result in ovulation. You're going to see multiple really small peaks, and some may result in ovulation, some may not. So in that case, if you're still using OPK to try to conceive, and the OPK is highly possible going to give you positive all the time. So because your baseline is high, so that's, all your hormone level is above the threshold set by the OPK. So with that, that means you need to have certain quantitative or numerical hormone measurement so you can know what is really the peak for you, because your baseline is high. And you're probably gonna see multiple peaks, right? And then if you're really trying to conceive, we suggest you to try whenever you see the peak, because you never know which peak is gonna be the real peak. Your body is trying to ovulate the egg, but we don't know which egg will be ovulated successfully. So that will increase your chance to conceive. And then I'm going through those questions because we don't have too much time. So I'm gonna make sure, most of the questions can be covered today. So one question is asking about, is there a way for Mira to stop to, put into the supposed period, the future or predicted period into the cycle? So is there a way to stop the app of doing this? So right now the answer is no, but we're releasing a new app really soon. You can see that new app will be working with our estrogen product. So we will consider that feature into the app. I think that's a great suggestion. So for now, what you can do is that you can ignore the prediction. So because the Mira app has two different things in there. One is your actual cycle. So that means you enter your period or you tested the luteinizing hormone level. And another type is prediction. So the prediction of the fertile window of the period of the cycle length whatsoever is based on the overall data of your history. So the prediction is there. It cannot be deleted right now, but it will not affect your future prediction, because the prediction will be only based on your historical data. It will not be based on the prediction itself. So thanks for that suggestion. I just wrote it down while the two girls are talking. So we will consider that functionality for sure. And another question is asking about, will Mira be able to test for progesterone and estrogen as well as LH? The answer is absolutely yes. So estrogen is releasing very soon. We are actually having the inventory in the warehouse already. So we likely gonna ship the product out in a couple of weeks. And those are for the people who pre-order. So if you pre-order, you have early access. And right now you can still do that if you haven't done that on Mira's website. So you can have early access for that. So the new product will be the Mira Fertility Plus test ones. So that will test the LH and estrogen level on a single test one. So you don't have to test twice. So if you test it, you're gonna show both LH and estrogen level at the same time. You're gonna see two curves on your hormone profile on the app. So that is the new product gonna be doing. And the progesterone is under our R&D. So our goal is to launch the progesterone and also the HCG, quantitative HCG. That means we can test for sign of miscarriage before that happens. We can test for fetal growth up to the end of the first trimester. So both we're working on that really hard, and we're gonna be launching that next year. So that's the answer for that question. And I also see another question about, is it possible to got pregnant when I'm in low LH range, like LH in 6 or 7? The answer is absolutely possible, because all the hormone level, as we said before, is based on your individual situation. Although there's a population average, but that may or may not apply to you. So the most important thing is like you are looking for a surge of the hormone pattern. You're not looking for an absolute number. So no one can say, oh, you're above 10, you're absolutely ovulating, you're below, you're not. It's not working that way. So you have to look for the the relatively, the higher level or higher surge or peak of the luteinizing hormone level, and that usually indicates an ovulation is about to happen. And sorry, it's many multiple questions about Mira. So another question is about, is it okay to test both the estrogen and LH with the new products? They can be working with the current analyzer. The answer is yes. So if you purchase your analyzer recently, you are most likely gonna be okay. If you purchase Mira analyzer last year, 12 months ago, so you might have to do a software upgrade. So that's very easy to do, just like how you update your Apple Watch. So the app once you connect, the app gonna remind you saying, oh, there's a new software, and it usually takes less than 30 seconds to update that wirelessly. So you will be able to use the new ones with your current analyzer. Okay, so I just went to a few questions about Mira. So now we can look into some questions for Despina and Robyn. So let me see. So there is a question, I think maybe for Robyn. So Mandy is asking what type of proteins are better to include in the diet?
Absolutely. So honestly, it really depends. Like I work with women who are plant-based and those who are omnivore. So either way is totally fine as long as you're getting adequate protein. So when we're thinking about that, we really want to go anti-inflammatory as much as possible. So focusing more on the plant-based side, beans, legumes, nuts and seeds, that type of stuff. And on the omnivore side, things like chicken and turkey and eggs, and limiting things like red meat and pork, which can be inflammatory and problematic for others. But when we think about protein, having it with every meal is really important, with your snacks as well, as much as possible. In terms of portion size, we're really thinking about like the palm of our hand for like animal proteins. For the plant-based stuff like beans and legumes, we're really thinking about 1/2 to 1 cup as being 1 serving.
Great. And another question is about, is the intermittent fasting bad for PCOS or not?
Yeah, so that one it's kind of like what Despina was talking about, where when you have insulin resistant PCOS, higher intensity interval training, that type of stuff can be more beneficial. Same goes for intermittent fasting. If you are highly insulin resistant, it can be helpful. The one thing that I do want to share is that when you are also trying to conceive, it's very important that you're getting food pretty regularly. So it might not be that you go to, a 6 or 8 hour eating window, but rather like a 10 or a 12 hour eating window with 12 or 14 hours fasted, and doing most of that fasting overnight when you're sleeping. If you decide to try intermittent fasting, the first 2 to 3 weeks, your body is adjusting. So be aware of that. And as the farther you go into it, the better you should feel. And if that's not happening, then this is definitely not right for you. It's not something that I give to most of my clients. But if I'm finding that their bodies are really resistant to dealing with the underlying insulin sensitivity issues, then a 12 or 14 hour fast can sometimes be useful.
Okay, great. So another question is is that true people with PCOS should not eat too much soy, such as tofu?
That's an interesting question, and I get asked that a lot, actually. I don't think it's a huge deal in small quantities. From the research behind soy, what they find is it tends to be most beneficial for people who come from cultures who regularly use small amounts of properly prepared, so usually fermented type soy, versus those who don't. And then like for me, this is not from my culture, I'm Polish background, Canadian, whatever, right? We're not really, eating soy for generations. And so if we eat it, we might have more issues digesting it. Potentially soy does have a potential to mess with estrogen and stuff like that. Women with PCOS are already estrogen dominant. So it's not something that I would rely on all the time, like tofu or soy milk or like those fake vegan meats and stuff like that. If you're going to use soy, use traditionally fermented soy sauce, use miso, different things like that, which are much easier to digest and have more benefits than the kind of processed other stuff.
That's great. Thanks so much, Robyn. So I also seen some question for Despina. So one question is saying, why is the exercise is only 3 to 4 times a week and only 30 minutes each? Would that increase our cortisol level if we work out 5 days a week and or like an hour each time?
So I often say 3 to 4 times a week, especially if you're just kind of starting out. Obviously, the more regularly you can exercise, the better. And yes, going for an hour can be good. I'm cautious when people are starting out and kind of becoming in tune with their body and their hormones, listening to what their body's saying. So going for the hour is fine. It's just really not doing it because you feel like you have to do it. Now when you're kind of trying to reverse the symptoms, I want people to be aware of how the body is like working, paying attention to what's happening. And if they feel like they're fine after 30 minutes, they could do an hour, then cool, go for it. I'm not, exercise is great, but always remember exercise is a stressor. So we have to be aware of all the stresses in our life.
I see, got it. So another question for Despina, it says, can you explain in more detail about 5x5 for those who don't understand?
5x5 essentially 5 sets of 5 reps. So we're just doing 5 sets of compound lift like squats. You're doing 5 sets, 5 reps, and then moving on to the next exercise. You're not doing, for example, 8 sets of an 8x3, which you're doing like 8 sets of 12 or something. You're just focusing on a very small amount of workout going in, and then you're kind of done essentially, not kind of there for a long time. So you're going 5 sets, 5 reps. So when it comes to a squat, you're doing that exercise 5 times, and 5 reps you're going down. You're doing exercise of squat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then moving on to the next thing, essentially, if that makes sense.
Great. Okay, thanks so much, girls. So let me try to share my screen. So I know there's still more questions we didn't answer. We're just kind of running out of time. So I saw a couple Mira related questions. So basically, just to summarize, yes, estrogen is launching in 2 weeks. Yes, we're shipping. That means we're shipping in 2 weeks, especially if you're based in the US. If you're not, maybe you're gonna get it a little bit later because the shipping gonna take more time. So we are improving our app, and there will be more fields you can enter as a log. Maybe not exactly for meditation, exactly what meditation we did, but you can enter your symptom, you can enter your mood, what you have feeling. You can also enter pregnancy tests. So if you're pregnant, and you can track that for sure. So that's improvement for the new Mira app. So any more questions about this and any feedback you have with Mira, feel free to send to support@miracare.com if we don't have enough time to take care of all the questions. And before we finish, I'd like to share these codes. So we're doing a program and affiliation right now. So if you enter PCOS25 and check out with Mira, you can get $25 off of the starter kit, especially if you want to if you're new to Mira, you want to try the numeric LH plus estrogen testing at home, just like what you're gonna get from the lab without the trouble of going there. So use that code and take advantage of that. So great. So we have taken some questions, and I know in the chat there are ways you can find Robyn and Despina. So they're both great, and they are more than happy to take more questions for you. And before we finish, I'd like to take a final poll. So I really like to know, how we're doing and what we can do better in the future to help you. So please provide your feedback so that will greatly help us to provide even more and better free webinars to you in the near future. So I'm gonna give 5 more seconds. So please help us to know how we're doing and help us to improve our webinar. Okay, sounds good. Am I gonna end the poll? So thanks so much, everyone. So really, thanks Despina and Robyn to share your great insights today. And we will see you next time. And you guys take care and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.